Welcome back everyone for another episode of Ben 10 Unveiled. On this channel, we've talked about the power of beings like Vilgax, Ben, Gwen, and even Charmcaster. But we've only briefly talked about my favorite character in the series, so now we ask the question, how powerful is Kevin Ethan Levin? Kevin at a young age thought he had been abandoned by his real father. This stemmed to him turning to a life of crime fueled by his Osmosian powers. Running away from home, Kevin eventually took up refuge in the subway and lived his life taking what he wanted until a fateful day in an arcade where he bumped into the 10-year-old amateur superhero, Ben Tennyson. Very quickly, Ben would realize that Kevin's self-centered lifestyle would put other people's lives at risk. This not before Kevin's abilities let him tap into the various alien DNA samples held within the Omnitrix, making him into the villain, Kevin 11. As we all know, Kevin is an Osmosian, and if you'd like it in depth, please check out my video on Osmosians, but moving on. As a part Osmosian, Kevin has the ability to absorb matter, energy, and the powers of living beings, this extending to their very life force. The effects of his power is drastically different depending on what he is absorbing energy from. As Kevin 11, the counterpart to Ben 10, Kevin at first was able to transform into the various aliens available to Ben, until after a fated tussle, Kevin's powers overloaded, turning him into a freak essentially, or so that's how he felt. Keep in mind, with access to Ben's aliens, Kevin could copy and both combine the alien abilities of the Omnitrix. There was even an episode where the two worked together. Kevin got an in-depth tutoring session of Ben's abilities with Ben right on top of his back. Through this, we know in his unstable form, Kevin has access to all of Ben's aliens and learn how to make them work together in tandem. Kevin would eventually be locked into the null void, alongside Ben's other nemesis, Vilgax. After a final confrontation with Ben, living with much of his early adolescence in prison, we can tell this altered Kevin. He'd eventually go on to learn to control his anger and rage through the help of his fellow prisoner, Coral, R.I.P. Coral. Fast forwarding into Alien Force and on, he'd act as an alien arms dealer and con artist, eventually finding himself once again in confrontation with Ben in a weapons deal gone wrong. However, this time, the sacrifice of the plumber Magister Lagrid to save Kevin's life made Kevin decide to help Ben and Gwen uncover the conspiracy of the hybrid, eventually turning into something resembling a hero of sorts to Ben's team. Now, with the introduction out of the way, we will get into exactly how powerful is Kevin Levin. Though in his base form it's often misconstrued, Kevin appears to have superhuman strength and durability on the level of some of Ben's aliens. Through his ability of matter absorption, Kevin can take on and utilize the components of anything he touches. This can go from wood, to concrete, to steel, to even alien metals and minerals. We see in countless examples Kevin can take damage on a building-destroying scale. He's been blasted point blank by an enhanced Darkseid, who when enhanced left Ben in a crater. He's taken blows from some of Ben's most impressive aliens, like even Swampfire, who is able to lift the Los Soledad's hybrid tower at one point. We even see Kevin bear the brunt of Andreas's jackhammering attack, which by all means is capable of causing earthquakes. Almost comically, Kevin's durability is no joke. We see him being introduced to various pavements and surfaces throughout the battles in the series, whether it's being ragdolled literally by a hybrid commander, or him being shown charging through energy fields or walls of laser fire. As long as Kevin has some sort of material to absorb and enough of it, he can create constructs like maces, swords, hammers, and this extends to projecting things from his body like spikes. He can even repair objects and coat others in his matter manipulative abilities, thus extending the benefits of the substance to his team. Despite being encased in stone, Kevin is quite agile and can even absorb materials like rubber to increase his versatility in battle. He's been able to dodge the blast from ships' lasers, react to Argent's quills, though some of them still hit. We even see him on occasion dodging laser fire, like during an altercation with the Vito brothers. And he has a good grasp on combat as well, as we see Kevin intercept and counter many a blow throughout the series. He's strong enough to toss massive boulders and to not only lift Humongosaur, but lift cars and hit hard enough to launch even Ultimate Humongosaur a great distance. He can shatter Charmcaster's golems with a single blow, and has even overpowered the Tetraman Manny. Kevin even appears to be able to create shockwaves from simply punching the ground or when landing from high places. To this tune, Kevin can be shown taking the literal heads off of DNA aliens. And though we don't see much of it after the classic Ben 10 series, we know Kevin can manipulate electricity, capable of shorting out machines, causing blackouts, and even making vehicles supercharge and move on their own. With just his base set of abilities, Kevin actually sports a pretty impressive rap sheet of feats, from not only stopping a punch but also staggering Vilgax, to defeating hybrids, absolutely no-selling every battle with the Forever Knights they've had, blocking the lasers easily, or even to not being pierced by their swords or laser swords. This being a good time to stop and mention that the Forever Knight blaster is kinda broken. Reportedly firing at 0.6 terawatts, it can destroy a medium-sized car with ease, and I don't think anyone realizes how powerful a unit of measurement this is. A terawatt is defined as a unit of power equal to 1 trillion watts. Doing the math, that means a Forever Knight blaster has about 6 billion watts of destructive force held within it. A gigawatt is 1.3 billion units of horsepower. Essentially, 1 gigawatt could power 750,000 homes. Going further, a gigawatt rivals about 860 tons of TNT. So shortening all this down, a standard Forever Knight blaster should hit with the force of around 6 gigawatts, or 5,162.52 tons of TNT. That's roughly a third of the power unleashed in the real-life nuclear bomb Little Boy. Now, being honest, this could have just been an exaggeration on the showrunner's part, but Jesus, no wonder Magister Lagrid literally was willing to die because Earth was not ready for weapons this powerful. Now, we enter the most interesting and powerful area of Kevin's abilities, and that is, of course, his ability to not only manipulate energy, but also use the life force of others to change his own form and appearance. This, for Osmosians, often coming with a trade-off of insanity. After a fated battle with Agrigor in the heart of the Forge of Creation, Ben, Gwen, and even the classic Ben, and even Kevin, are all rendered helpless before the might of ultimate Agrigor. After absorbing a combination of 5 aliens, Agrigor proves to truly be unstoppable, until the young Ben pleads with Kevin to once again take his powers and become the villain, Ethan Levin. All this to defeat Agrigor. Kevin turns this down, even though admitting that they will need the power of the Ultimatrix, and then proceeds to absorb all of Ben's aliens. After this, Kevin easily dispatches Agrigor, immobilizing and draining all of the powers Agrigor had previously stolen and adding them to his own. In this form as Ultimate Kevin, were he not unhinged, may have been the most powerful being in the universe. Unlike last time with access to only 10 aliens and a juvenile understanding of his powers, Kevin was now armed with the massive arsenal of the Ultimatrix. Personally, I think if he had taken the younger Ben's abilities, he would have maintained more control, as he did maintain some semblance of himself during the classic version. Ultimate Kevin, on the other hand, is at his most unhinged and most powerful. Keep in mind, so far we've already stated without transforming, Kevin can match the strength of Tetramans, Hybrids, and even Ben in the form of Humongosaur. Kevin loses none of these abilities as far as the show is stated when he transforms. With his new skill set, Kevin proceeded to track down countless others to drain their abilities. We see him even using Big Chill's intangibility, Swampfire's Vine, Echo's sound effects, even the water jets of Bivalvin, and countless other powers. As Ultimate Kevin, we know Kevin defeated Helen, Pierce, Manny, and Dr. Victor, also going along to even steal Alan's powers and absorbing them. During this time, the only person truly capable of stopping him was Ben. And during his pursuit of Ship and Gwen, we see Cooper turn on Los Solidas's defense systems, launching a massive missile barrage that knocks Kevin out of the air for a brief moment, but doesn't even truly faze him. Kevin then goes on to catch one of these missiles mid-flight, run against the propulsion of said missile, and toss it on a new flight path to the launchers themselves. This feat in and of itself shows you the true power of Ethan Levin. One of the most well-known and standard missile defense systems in the world is the Iron Dome missile defense system, and we'll compare that to Kevin's feat for now. It fires missiles at nigh impossible Mach 2.2 speeds, meaning the missile covers a distance of 754 meters per second, or around 1,687,000 miles per hour. Kevin not only caught the missile and threw it back, he also, after landing, dodged several other missiles and laser fire to be able to do this. This all equates to why Ben states that it was either Kevin or the safety of the planet. In theory, with these powers, Kevin could simply use Andreas's Quake ability to cause rampant earthquakes, grow jungles throughout the cities of the planet with Swampfire's plant affinity, or simply go on to absorb even more powerful beings and increase his level of insanity. Had he not been stopped, I imagine Kevin would have taken down Gwen, Darkstar, Cooper, and even eventually making his way to the realm of Legerdemain for Charmcaster and Hex. I don't doubt that in this form, Kevin could have easily defeated even Vilgax himself and absorbed his abilities. Wrapping up, as Ultimate Kevin, he is nothing short of an intergalactic threat, capable of posing a significant threat to any powerful being or body of authority. Though we see a peaceful resolution to Kevin's rampage, it can only be asked how much more powerful could Kevin be? We can easily equate his base Osmosian form as beyond superhuman, providing offense, defense, and versatility. And as Ultimate Kevin, if the need ever come, he is capable of becoming a threat to all of existence. Hell, as simply even just a human, Kevin has attention to detail and a level of personal analysis that made him a top plumber candidate, as if he wasn't already qualified. And with that, I hope I've answered the question: how powerful is Kevin?